Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the Neoliberal Round. There is a lot happening in the world today as it relates to the Russian invasion in Ukraine. I'm here playing a video from the Ukrainian government, and they had submitted it. They submitted it today. It says the world is united with Ukraine, and you can find the video on my YouTube from Istanbul, Turkey, London, New York City, USA, Paris, France, Rome, Italy, Berlin, Germany. People are demonstrating and gathering. Washington, D.C. in the U.S., Vilnius, Lithuania, Colombo, Sri Lanka, Seoul, South Korea, Athens, Greece. People are gathering. Sao Paulo, Brazil, St. Petersburg. People are saying no to war. No to war. This is coming from Russia here. Russia, people in St. Petersburg are also chanting no to war. And so this morning, I did not intend to have another episode until tomorrow, but I had to deliver a broadcast to you today. Just so you know, I got up this morning to the sounds of this. This is actually a small town in Ukraine. Let me see if I could bring that up for you. The translation here. The translation says, if I could find that for you. Still trying to find this video. But this is a shooting that actually happened in a Ukrainian town. And I'm trying to find the name of the town where there is a video of someone who was killed. And you can hear in the background a barrage of shooting or firing coming from a barrage of gunshots coming from that's Russia. So there is what the video it's on YouTube, and you can Ronaldo McKenzie. You can go on my YouTube videos and it's there. So it is Russia invading a city. There are a group of civilians, and the Russians actually fired, killing one of the civilians. One of the civilians actually died. And excuse me. I'm trying to bring this up for you. Here we go. So what we're listening to right now is a region in Luhansk region. It's Novopskov in Luhansk region, where Russian soldiers shoot at civilians. In fact, one was hit and killed. One was, we cannot confirm that he was killed, but that's what is happening. But this video that shows people all over the world, in major cities all over the world, people are gathering in streets and in cities. People are demonstrating, even in Russia, demonstrating and calling for justice, calling for the end of this war. But after watching this video, I asked the question, is the world really united with Ukraine? And I say it's a lie. I write that it's a lie. The world is not united with Ukraine against Russia. Only in words and in media blitz. But the help Ukraine needs is not coming. Protect or close Ukraine's airspace and stop all Russian imports and businesses. Can we stand with them like that? The cities, people all over the world. Can we stand up with Russia? Sorry, I apologize. Can we stand against Russia with the people of Ukraine? Can we stand up and tell our governments, tell our leaders, can we tell them that we want them to protect Ukrainian airspace? Okay, can we as world citizens rally behind Ukrainians by demanding through protest that our governments act on our behalf of the innocent victims who are losing their lives? Both Ukrainians and young Russian soldiers who are 18 to 20 years old. Now, we did it in the past where we closed our eyes to apartheid in South Africa and allowed heinous crimes against blacks there. We closed our eyes, the world, on Chechnya and allowed genocides. Okay? The world came together with its United Nations and Security Council after World War I and II. For what? To take taxpayers' money? To wear nice suits and look good on TV? Talking diplomacy? When one of your members is carrying out atrocities on a weaker people? Bullying them like Hitler did? We have not learned from our mistakes, people. Putin can only invade and destroy Ukraine because we are not really united against terror and racism and discrimination and terrorism, it seems. We are too reactive. He went into Crimea and saw that nothing happened. He went into Chechnya and saw that nothing happened. Okay? He tried his hand at Georgia and saw that nothing happened. He flew his plane, towards American bases and planes and ships not so long ago, and nothing happened. All we got was lip service. And let me just tell the world leaders in the West who are saying that they cannot acquiesce to President Zelensky's request to protect the airspace by either closing it or sending ships and airplanes and so on to protect them. They're saying I'm saying it's not a delicate situation to stop Russia. It's beyond diplomacy. It's at this point. It's beyond lip service at this point. It's delicate and catastrophic for the Ukrainians. Yet the West is still trying to be diplomatic with Putin and allowing him to get away, yet again, with crimes against humanity. The international community and systems the West and world have developed is clearly not working. Are clearly not working. And I'm appealing to everyone who's listening to me on this podcast. Okay? And if you have an ability to share it with your friends and families and your sphere of influence, tell your leaders to stop all Russian imports and protect Ukrainian airspace. Tell your leaders to stop. Okay, I know I am watching this video and I'm seeing people brandishing placards that say no war, stop war. I'm telling you, it's not about lip service at this point. Writing placards and blowing up in the air is not going to help stopping the war. Okay, what we need now, we need real action, because first of all, the sanctions are not working. Because what has happened, and I said that yesterday in my LinkedIn commentary, the neoliberal commentary, which I hope I have a chance to share that with you, that sanctions have been slow and sanctions are delayed. In fact, let me bring up that story for you right now. I also actually tweeted a version of this. I took to the airways this morning because I was very upset. I was not happy at all about what's happening Okay, there's several things happening. By the way, reports coming in this morning is that the enemy fired missiles at houses in Bila Serkva, and they are victims of CUM. And I tweeted images of this on my Twitter page, Ronaldo McKenzie, and also on LinkedIn. There's news coming in that area, in Bila Serkva. Come. In the morning, Bila Serkva, this is Ukrainian. The enemy attacked the private sector from the air, said the head of the Kiev Regional State Administration, Oleksiy Kuleba. Now, the rocket damaged at least 15 private homes where the elderly and children were. 15. We know about two. There are about 2 wounded. The number of victims it's not specified, but at least 15 private homes where elderly and children were. The rocket damaged a missile. I'm talking about a missile rocket. Police at SES are helping people on the spot, and residents of damaged homes are being relocated, we're hearing. That's coming in, and there are other images that I shared for you on my Twitter page, Ronaldo McKenzie. There's and I again, if the world is united with Ukraine against Russia, we believe that actions speak louder than words. It is a lie. It is a lie that the world is united with Ukraine. Okay? Action speaks louder than words. And we said, stop Russia now. No more imports and protect Ukraine's airspace. I'm going to constantly talk about that. That we need to tell our leaders that. The world is united with Ukraine against Russia. But are we united in words and ideology, but not in action? Are we really going to let Putin win this war? I mean, are we really, guys, going to let Putin win this war? Now, yesterday I submitted a story, and I'm going to play that, and I'm going to share that story with you in the neoliberal commentary on my LinkedIn newsletter page. And I'm going to bring that up for you. If I could find it, here we are. That's that one here. Give me just a second. Here we go. Articles. It's the latest publication. It's my latest publication in the neoliberal commentary. It's called What's Happening in the Russia-Ukraine War. What's happening in the Russian-Ukraine War. And you can listen and you can watch that. You can actually read that on my LinkedIn page. And I began that commentary by sharing a YouTube video, which I will share with you. It's on my YouTube channel. Sounds of the war coming in. Ukraine's video message to Ukrainians, Russia and the world, which was delivered in Ukrainian and then translated. The translation in English is that we can do it. We can do it. We will defend our land. It's day 11, and the Russians continue to advance into Ukraine towards Kyiv and have occupied some cities. However, the Ukrainians continue to fight and protest, even under occupation in some areas. Thousands of fighters overseas have joined the fight, and reports are that 66,000 soldiers from abroad have arrived in Ukraine to join Ukrainians' fight against Russia. In fact, Ukrainian officials have created a website where foreigners can sign up to join the fight. It is https://fightforukraine.org. Sorry, I apologize, and I need to correct this in the article that I submitted. It's not fightforukraineua.org, but it's fightforua.org. So far, 10,000 Russian soldiers, many of whom are between the ages of 18 to 20, have been killed as Ukrainians continue to fight. And here's a roundup of the news regarding the Russian-Ukraine war that we have listed for you below with the recent breaking news that just came in as we're about to publish this newsletter. But before I share that breaking news that I got from President Zelensky's desk last night concerning the promised shelling on civilian areas by Russia today, I also want to share with you some information coming in, some reports as where we are in terms of losses. So we know that the Ukrainians are fighting back, and so far they have losses, the losses of Russian occupation forces in Ukraine, and they have listed it for us. Data are being updated, and the calculation is complicated by the high intensity of hostilities. But as of March 3rd at 6 p.m., 10,000 personnel were killed. Russian personnel. They have lost 39 aircrafts, 40 helicopters, 269 tanks, 60 tanks, 3 UAV OTR, 2 ships and boats, 945 armored combat vehicles, 105 artillery systems, 50 PC-3B, 409 units of automotive equipment, and 19 means of air defense. So that's news coming in as of March 3rd. Sorry, I apologize. As of March 3rd, yes, at 6 o'clock, a couple days ago, and news are still coming in. As we get reports of the losses, we will report them to you. Not only that, there is reports that the Ukrainian government is sending to the civilians and those who are fighting against Russia. Those who are underground fighting against Russia, they submitted, the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine submitted a guide to Ukrainians and to those who are fighting against Russia on the ground as to how to behave in terms of breaking ammunition and unbreaker ammunition. How to behave when you're dealing with unbreaker ammunition. 1. Visually make sure you have an explosive situation. Again, the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine is saying has released instructions to Ukrainians and those fighting on the ground as it relates to how to behave in terms when faced with an unbreaker ammunition situation. 1. Visually make sure you have an explosive situation. 2. Mark the place as dangerous. 3. Leave the place. Do not return to the place. Tell others to keep away. 4. Take a photo. Report the details of the website www.ukraine-cat-uxo.com and list of possible ammunition on the site. And and they also provided a list of possible ammunition on the site at www.ukraine-cat-uxo.com/T-UA. So that's again the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine. And I'm sharing these reports with you so that you can have a sense as to what is going on. It's the 21st century. When we had World War I, World War II, and some of the aggressions in the world, we don't see what's happening. We don't know. But in the 21st century with social media, you get up-to-the-minute news. It's not easy to hide, things. It's easy to expose. So, Yesterday evening, at around late in the evening, around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, the President Zelensky submitted a report. President Zelensky submitted a breaking news report yesterday, which I will actually play for you just a minute of it. President Zelensky just yesterday made a report. It says Zelensky reports that Russia announced more shelling. Let's hear this report. Let's bring it from the beginning. According to the video, he said, today is Forgiveness Sunday, a day when we always apologize to each other, to all people, to God. But today, it seems, many have not mentioned this day at all. Have not mentioned the obligatory words, forgive me. And the obligatory answer, God forgives and I forgive. These words seem to have lost their meaning today, at least in part. After everything we went through, we will not forgive the destroyed houses. We will not forgive the missiles that our defense shot down over Okhmadit today. And more than 500, and more than sorry, let me repeat that. We will not forgive the missile that our air defense shot down over Okhmadit today. And more than 500 such missiles that hit our land all over Ukraine, hit our people and children. We will not forgive the shouting of unarmed people, destruction of our infrastructure. We will not forgive. Hundreds and hundreds of victims, suffering, thousands of thousands, and God will not forgive. Not today, not tomorrow, never. And instead of forgiveness, there will be a day of judgment. I'm sure of it. It seems everything Russian servicemen have already done is still not enough for them. Not enough ruined destinies, mutilated lives. They want to kill even more. Tomorrow, Russia has officially announced the shelling of our territory, our enterprises, defense complex. Most were built decades ago by the Soviet government, built in cities. And now they are in the middle of an ordinary urban environment. Thousands of people work there. Hundreds of thousands live nearby. This is murder, deliberate murder, and I have not heard a reaction from any world leader today. I'm going to repeat what he says. He says, according to the president, he has not heard from any world leader today, from any world leader, from any Western politician, reaction to this announcement. Think about the sense of impunity of the invaders. They announced their planned atrocities. They announced it. Why? Because there is no reaction. Because there is silence, not a word, as if Western leaders have dissolved tonight. For this day, I hope that at least tomorrow you will notice it. And that's news coming in from, that was yesterday night from President Zelensky, who reports that he also reported that Russia fired 8 missiles, which has destroyed the airport at Vinnytsia. And he's calling for the closure of the airspace in the region so as to avert this humanitarian catastrophe. And I also have a video of that breaking news regarding the airport at he says, I have just heard that the airport at Vinnytsia has been fired at by Russians. They were on the missile strike at Vinnytsia airport. He says 8 missiles against our city, against our peaceful Vinnytsia, which has never posed a threat to Russia in any way. A brutal, cynical missile strike has completely destroyed the airport. Completely destroyed the
Вони
airport.
продовжують знищувати нашу інфраструктуру. Наш ракетний удар.
He also says,
цинічний, повністю зруйнований аеропорт. Вони продовжують знищувати
he says that they continue total destruction of our infrastructure,
нашу інфраструктуру, наше життя, яке будували
our life built by us, our parents,
ми, будували наші батьки, наші діти,
and grandparents, generations of Ukrainians.
всі бабусі, покоління українців. Ми
We repeat every day,
повторюємо кожного дня: закрити небо.
close the sky over Ukraine. Every single time over the past couple of days that we've heard President Zelensky speaking and giving updated reports from his Telegram and so on feeds, the constant and repeated refrain and cry from President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people is close the sky over Ukraine.
Над Україною. Закрити.
Close it for all Russian missiles.
Для всіх російських ракет. Для
Russian combat aircraft. Close it for Russian combat aircraft. For all these terrorists.
Російської бойової авіації. Для всіх цих терористів.
Make a humanitarian air zone. Humanitarian air zone. Again, as I said earlier, just at the beginning of my podcast, I played a video showing that the world is united. People is everywhere in major cities in the world demonstrating, protesting against Russia and against Putin and against the war. People are signing up, people from abroad going to join the fight. But our leaders, the politicians, the governments, the people who can make decisions, that can put a dent in this war, they are sitting down drinking champagne. We have the United Nations and the Security Council, again, I'm going to repeat that we developed to respond to issues like this. But what has happened? They are still doing lip service. But here is this man of action, President Zelensky. He said, you will save hundreds of countless of lives. You will avert a humanitarian crisis and a catastrophe if we close the airspace over Ukraine. You will, close it to the Russian combatants. Close it. But up to now, President Biden and the United Nations and the Western countries with such authority or with such ability have not done so. Why? President Putin levied a threat against the West and any country, and any country that does such that levies such sanctions or embargoes or close the airspace. He says that's tantamount to a war. Excuse me, you are already having a war. Why so? And I'm going to reveal some more things in my report. I am very passionate today about the news. I'm very passionate about what's going on. And I'm going to tell you why I'm passionate. The world has a tendency of closing its eyes to the injustices of the world. That's why we have racism today. Because the world play pretense. The world is slow to act. Slow to respond. Look what black people in South Africa endured years of apartheid. When countries could have done so. And guess what? Western civilized democratic countries continue to do business with South Africa. Look what happened in Chechnya. Look what happened in Georgia. Look what happened. Look what is happening in the world. Black people endured years of slavery. in this very civilized Christian world, or religious world we say we live in. Okay, a world of love we say, and we bear the name of Jesus on the cross. But okay, Jesus, he came for the weak. Yes, he came for those who are dying and suffering, and we say we're a Christian country. Okay, and the Western world, we say that we're a Christian world, the Western civilization. But we allowed slavery to occur. Because the Bible, of course, talks about slavery. The Bible talks about slavery, and slaves must be acquiescent and complicit. So we say, oh, well, the Bible talks about slavery, so we should do it. But as I said to you, the hegemony of faith, when you look at privilege and position, even in terms of how principles and society is set up, and those things we appeal to, that we find normative, that we get instructions from, that is also set up to maintain a status quo and to carry on privilege and position in the world. But look what has happened. The world is still not acquiescent. But let us continue with what President Zelensky is saying.
Гуманітарну повітряну зону без ракет, без авіабомб. Ми люди, і це ваш гуманітарний обов'язок захищати нас.
He says, we are a people, innocent people. Okay? Who? Let me repeat. Let me play that again.
Терористів, зробіть гуманітарну повітряну зону без ракет, без авіабомб. Ми люди, і
we are people, and it is your humanitarian duty.
Це ваш гуманітарний обов'язок захищати.
To protect us, protect people. We are a people, and it is your humanitarian. It's an ethical responsibility. The issue of ethics we have a moral responsibility, okay, based on our ethical value, to recognize that when people are in danger, we protect them. We do what is necessary to keep people out of harm's way. That is the highest ethic that we can subscribe to. An ethic that says, if like Tory, there's a story about Tory. When you study ethical dilemmas, okay, where you find yourself in a place where damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Yes, damned if you do, you're caught between a rock and a hard place. How do you make decisions based on ethical and moral values? Well, this is what we have. This is what we have philosophized. We have said that those principles, the highest ethical order, the highest moral responsibility that we have is to protect someone's life. Protect someone's life. Protect someone who is a person. Okay? So are Ukrainians persons? Yes, they are persons. So do they not require our protection? Yes. How can we protect them? There's a story that I read many years ago about Tory Ted Boone in World War I or II. They were looking for Jews who were being housed by Germans, and they came up on a house where Tory Ted Boone was hiding hidden by some Germans. And so the Nazis went up to the Germans, to the German family, and said, "Hey, do you have any Jews here?" Of course, thou shalt not lie. But guess what? This person did whatever it took to protect the life of this Jew, because this Jew is not just a Jew. The Jew is a person. The Jew is a person, and that person required a protection. And so yes, the German was a German, but he was also a person. Okay, and the German said to the Nazi German, "No, we don't have a Jew here." And guess what? That spared Tory Ted Boone's life many years ago. Let me ask you the question. Aren't Ukrainians people whose lives are being threatened? Is the West and President Biden and the other Western nations, is the world willing to do what it takes to preserve and save somebody? So what are the Ukrainians asking for? They're asking for, one, that we stop all Russian imports, that we stop doing business with Russia, everyone, so it will hurt them. Secondly, that we protect Ukrainian airspace, the Ukrainians, by protecting their airspace, either by closing it off or using ships and so on. That is very important, and that will help to turn the tide of the war and to preserve some of the catastrophes that we're hearing this morning, hearing about today and throughout and this week. I had submitted an article in my blogger news, ReinaldoCMcKenzie.blogspot.com. I have said that the president is calling for the closure of the airspace in the region so as to avert this humanitarian catastrophe. But what is ominous is the inability or slow actions of the United Nations, the US and the West, to respond and implement strategies and decisions necessary to avert any more human losses and end the war. The strategies needed are those that will isolate Putin, as many Russians are already against the war and are fleeing to Finland. We have discussed the delay and slow response from the West in coming to the aid of Ukraine. And up to now, certain decisions needed to stop the Russians are still not made, as diplomats wait for a complete Putin takeover. Why is that? The problem is that the world, despite Russian aggressions, has been in bed with Russia. And recently, Russia has been making strategic moves to augment and extend these ties and connections. From oil companies to application software and communication platforms, Google, oil and gas, etc. The world continues to depend on Russia to supply or satisfy this need, which has come back to haunt them. The world leaders would seem weak and myopic, allowing Russia, with its past history of aggression, to position itself in the world, so that we would be so slow to respond to the city of another independent democratic country being bullied by a superpower, Russia, on the Security Council, and is part of the United Nations. I'm going to repeat that again. The world leaders would seem weak and myopic, allowing Russia, with its past history of aggression, to position itself in the world so that we would be so slow to respond to the cry of another independent democratic country being bullied by a superpower on the Security Council and part of the United Nations. Moreover, the Republicans have a point. The Republicans have a point when they blamed President Biden's administration for allowing the destabilizing effects of the war, where our policy to halt or to stop drilling and to import oil from Russia, and or to allow Russia to be a dominant exporter of oil in the world, since the US is no longer interested in producing oil, as the US slowly turns to alternative energy using wind turbines and gasoline-less sources. But the decision to slow down drilling was too hasty. The decision to slow down drilling was too hasty and did not take into account a situation like this, where Russia continues its aggressions without stronger sanctions and responses from the West, given our new dependence on Russian oil, which would suggest that the administration lacks vision or proper judgment and decision-making skills. Russia's track record over the past several years, while Putin has been in power, has suggested that he is not someone that the West or democratic leaders in the world should be doing business with. Nevertheless, we continue to do business with Putin. We continue to do business with Putin and Russia. But in retrospect, the world has always closed its eyes to many injustices in the world. In retrospect, the world has always closed its eyes to many injustices of the past. Again, I repeat here, slavery, racism, apartheid, sexism, ethnic violations, and ethnic tensions, and genocide, to name a few. We have allowed several atrocities to occur in the world, so it is not surprising or alarming the slow pace at which the world has responded to Putin's constant intimidations and aggressions and threats. Moreover, President Zelensky reports that Russia has announced that tomorrow they will be shelling Ukraine. And when I said this is a newsletter article I did late last night, and I mentioned it earlier at the preamble or the beginning of this broadcast or this episode. But that was what was reported, and they will be shelling Ukraine, particularly on business enterprises and military and defense facilities located in urban areas near where thousands of Ukrainians continue to live. He stated that there hasn't been any effective response from the West except to apply delayed sanctions that are not working, when they can do more, such as implanting or implementing a no-fly zone. However, the West has not acquiesced to this and seem to be weak and afraid of Putin's threats that any decision to implement a no-fly zone is tantamount to a declaration of war by any country against Russia. The West has complied with Putin, fearing his threats, and hasn't applied or indicated that they will implement a no-fly zone for the areas needed. Second, yesterday, or the day before yesterday, President Zelensky of Ukraine submitted an update regarding the war. And in the main points, he says he calls for a no-fly zone again and in the region, and stated that 74% of Americans support the no-fly zone. Yet we have not approved the request. And I'm telling you now, it's more than that as of today. We have not approved the request, a decision that will help significantly Ukraine's advantage in the war. Secondly, the armed forces of Ukraine hold all areas of defense, but that as of yesterday. Russia continue to advance. Russia continues to advance. And just so you know, I think I might have spoken about this in a previous episode, so I won't raise this issue again too much, but I had an issue with Blogger News, and I had announced that Blogspot was blocking bloggers from reporting and blogging about the news, because suddenly my pro account was affected, and after some back and forth, it was fixed, and I tweeted about it and make it into a public issue. They worked on it, and now I'm able to blog again, and you can check out my blog at ronaldocmckenzie.blogspot.com. But the developer Vadim N. Petrov, who is a Russian developer, reported that Blogger or blogspot.com is a Google company, an American company that is developed by Ukrainian. The platform applications is developed by Ukrainians and Russian. But of course, if you go on the app and click on Blogger or Blogspot, the information that you will get is nothing about that it's an American company. It suggests that Blogger is a Russian company. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay? And there's more news coming in as well. I understand that lots happening all over the world today, but we understand that Luke Oil is also going to be feeling the pinch. Russian oil giant Luke Oil is calling for Russia or Putin to end the war. This is worrisome for Russia, as Luke Oil is their second biggest company, which generated $78 billion last year. It's also troubling for Luke Oil, whose revenues come from their outlets in the US, which is a major gas company and is currently one of the cheaper gasolines. But the war is turning many people away from Russia, and so and it's affecting their bottom line. So they are calling for the end, and there are many other people calling for the end. Now, thousands of Russians are also fleeing to Finland and other neighbors in the region, stemming from the war. And Russians, as I said today are also protesting against the war. Now, if you guys are, again, I'm going to repeat, if you guys are interested, if anyone listening to this broadcast or this episode, if you are a soldier and you can fight and you can go to Ukraine and you can sign up to fight for Ukraine, here is the website: fightforUA.org. FightforUA.org. Well, thank you so much, guys. And I'm gonna say this, that we understand that the longer the war drags on, it tilts towards Ukrainians' favor and away from Putin. And so Putin is becoming unhinged to the point of lunacy, using rockets and missiles because he must save face. He must save face, and so he's doing. And so at this point, there's no telling what he can do. But we want the leaders of the West to develop some spine and to put a dent into this thing. Russia alone is taking on the world, it seems. This Putin seems so defiant. He's taking on the world, and the world seems so soft and weak. But it is our prayer. It is our prayer that people around the world who believe in divine intervention and people of faith would pray that the war will end. But what? Not just that the war will end, but pray that Western leaders will develop backbone and spine. That's our prayer, a specific prayer that right now, that today, that Western leaders will stop Russian imports all over the world, and you can do, and it will start with each of us. Do your own research. Find out what are some of the goods and some of the products, some of the services that you utilize that come from Russia. We already know Luke Oil is one of them. Okay? We already know that some of the Google platforms, and that's some of the problem. And by the way, I said to you earlier that Russia has been trying to extend its control and its dominance by forcing other companies to come to Russia to set up application software companies. And many Russians and oligarchs have business ties in the West. So, you understand some of the problems. But we pray that Russia, we hope that each of us will find out what are some of the ways we here in America, or wherever you are in the world, can actually put a dent on Russian advances by stop buying Russian goods. Once you stop buying Russian goods and using Russian products, there is more pressure on your governments, okay, to import. Because why would businesses and government want to import or utilize or make available those products if it seems now that there's no market for it? If customers are boycotting, let us boycott every Russian goods, services, businesses, everything. That's the first thing. 2, and we are praying, and that's how we pray. Not only do we pray and ask God for things to happen, but you also act upon it. Okay? What can I do? What can I do to help in my community, in my neighborhood, to stop this war? Okay? And so the prayer is, Lord God, help me to fight, to know what things I can do. And one of the things that I would give me the power to be able to not utilize Russian goods and services. That's the first thing. The second thing we're praying is that the Western leaders will develop some spine and some power and do the job that they are created to do as the United Nations, okay? And to close, and the Security Council, to close the airspace. Close the Ukrainian airspace, and to also send drones and jets and crafts to defend that airspace against Russian missiles. That is what we are praying. The third thing that we are hoping for is that Putin will become isolated and that all of Russia rise up against him. We're praying that the Ukrainians will get all the necessary artillery and equipment that they need to fight off the Russians. But Russia right now has invaded many cities. They are there right now in Ukraine, in some cities. Some cities are still putting up fierce defenses. And even in the face of occupation, Ukrainians, and I might have made a Freudian slip saying Russia and Ukraine. I apologize but Ukrainians are fighting the enemy on the ground, even in the face of occupation. Okay? And I said some time ago, if Cuba can do it, then Ukraine can. But I said, Cuba never had to face what Ukraine is facing right now. Okay? What Ukraine is facing, superpower and rockets and the threat of nuclear weapons if they don't acquiesce. And if the world comes to their aid in a deliberative way, in a deliberate and intentional way, Putin has threatened war against the world and any country. Are we going to stand idly by and let him walk over this country on the whims of some threats? One country that's part of the United Nations, that's supposed to be promoting peace in the world. So when you hear me write, and when you hear other persons, when you hear people talk about conspiracy theorists, when you hear people talking about COVID and that COVID is a lie and it's fake, and then on CNN recently submitted an article to me saying, when will conspiracy theory end? When will people stop speaking about conspiracy? But it will not end, because the world is so complex. The world is strategic. How the world is set up, okay, to promote the few over the many. Okay? How the world is set up, how the world strategically does things. And what's going on in Russia. The fact that the world leaders are so in bed with each other and there are the delay tactics and so on. There is no way conspiracy theorists, okay? And the fact of the matter is, if millions of people are going to die from COVID, and we are succumbed to masking mandates and requirements and social distancing ourselves and getting foreign substance being put in our body that they call vaccines. Why is it that these people whose lives are also threatened can't bring us to a point where we do things that's uncomfortable? Because it was uncomfortable to wear masks. It was uncomfortable to socially distance ourselves. And it was highly uncomfortable to get vaccinated. Yet, look what's going on in Ukraine. Are we going to... People lives are at stake. But they're not doing the thing that they did with what they did when disaster is imminent. Case in point, COVID. But this particular disaster or atrocity happening in the world, how is it that it's not leading us to do the uncomfortable things. To go out of our way. So I hope that we will be able to do the uncomfortable thing. It begins with each of us. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. I actually have a new episode of, a new article this week. This in my LinkedIn newsletter, the Neoliberal Commentary. So you can check that out, the Neoliberal Commentary on LinkedIn. I have a new article out for this week. It's long, it is substantive, and some of what I have talked about here, I have also discussed that on my LinkedIn commentary. You can also follow my blogspot, subscribe to my blog at ronaldocmckenzie.blogspot.com, and also continue to check out my book, Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty, and Resistance. We have a book signing on March 26th. Possibly at the Germantown Espresso Bar, right on Maplewood Street, right at the corner there, right on Maplewood Street. It's on Shelton. It's on Shelton, or you can enter from Maplewood Street. But Germantown Espresso Bar, it opens at 7 a.m. and closes at 2 p.m. Or on weekends, it's at 8 to 3. But we will be there. Check us out. And if you need copies of the book, send me an email, ronaldocmckenzie@gmail.com. Or you can go on my eBay page, RENMCKE90, or you can get copies of the book either in paperback or hardcover, or in Kindle or the Nook from Barnes & Noble and Amazon. It's also available in audio via the Audible and continue to follow me here. Continue to access or to connect with me on academia.edu, where I present some of my papers, essays, articles, so on and so forth. I am looking forward to continuing this journey with you. Send me some comments and feedback as to how we can improve this. But thank you for listening to my soliloquy and or monologue. And future episodes, we will have guests coming and other persons speaking with us on issues in the news. Continue to follow me on Twitter, Ronaldo McKenzie, and or you can follow me on Twitter at Ronaldo McKenzie, or on Facebook, Ronaldo.McKenzie, or on LinkedIn, Reverend Ronaldo C. McKenzie. Thank you so much and have a great day. Until then, walk good.